Oh, this I love. A few months ago, when Iggy and I were planning our topics, we usually do it early in the morning on Tuesday. I said, I think this was in training camp, Iggy.
Yeah.
I said, let's evaluate for the viewers
Mhm.
every unit on the offense and defense, and the defensive coordinator and the head coach. And I think we come out with some very high grades. Okay, 3 games are over. I think I've changed some of my perceptions.
Yeah, me too.
Iggy, I'd like you to go first because you're really the expert.
Okay.
And then if I have
Sure.
some differences, I'll talk about it.
Fair. Okay.
Why don't you start? You go in any order you'd like.
All right, we'll go position by position. I'll give him a letter grade, just like I would after a game, in the same order I would after a game. Grades. Quarterback. And this is 2 players. The Niners are using 2 quarterbacks, mostly Jimmy Garoppolo, but they sprinkle in Trey Lance. So I'm going to give him a B. I don't know what I gave him before the season, but I think it's a B unit. Jimmy Garoppolo has limitations, but he's playing the best he can within them. They're 2-1. He hasn't made a ton of mistakes, and Trey Lance has been helpful. I mean, he's played 5 snaps and scored 2 touchdowns. I think maybe the Jimmy Garoppolo offense is sort of reaching the end of it being really, really good, because I think defenses know what to do against it. But I think this is a B with the potential to improve, because I still like Trey Lance. Even if they say he's not ready now, doesn't mean he won't be ready in the future. So it's an optimistic B.
Okay. I humbly disagree with you.
Okay.
I'm only talking about not potential or future. Based on what I've seen in 3 games, I have to give it a C.
Okay.
I give it a C, and I'll just give you my reasons.
Okay.
I'm putting Trey Lance aside because
Sure.
I don't think he's much of a relevant topic. Jimmy's the quarterback for the most part. The other guy is a gadget quarterback every once in a while. I'll be real clear. Jimmy doesn't score enough points, and also he doesn't use enough of the field.
That's true.
And teams, of course, teams know that, and
Yeah.
they know how to defend him. I mean, they can bring a lot of guys toward the box and say, beat us outside the numbers, beat us deep, and he can't. So I think that kind of play, he's turned into a game manager, and I call those guys a C.
That's fair. I guess I gave him an optimistic grade because of the kid, but you took him out of the equation. Fair enough. That's fine. A C. I wouldn't argue with that. Jimmy Garoppolo is a C quarterback. End of story. Yep.
Okay.
C quarterback. Okay. Should we move on?
Please.
All right. Running back. F.
Okay. Why?
Raheem Mostert is an A running back. The rest of the guys, I mean, Elijah Mitchell looked like maybe a C, and he's hurt. The guy who started last game, Trey Sermon, looked like an F in that game. And then the other guys weren't trusted to have any carries. The Niners had no running game to speak of. They were handing off to Kyle Juszczyk and telling him to dive between the tackles more than once. That's alarming. This is the worst position on the team.
I would 100% agree with you. It was supposed to be an absolute strength of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're having to work around the running backs, the lack of running backs, and the quarterback. That's hard for Kyle Shanahan. Now, he got himself in this position, but that's hard.
Wide receivers. B+. I think they're better than what they show because the offense is so horizontal, the passing game. But Deebo Samuel looks like maybe the second best player on the offense after the left tackle. And I think Brandon Ayuk is excellent as well. He's just more of a downfield guy than Deebo Samuel. And it's not a great fit with Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think he's also, you can see how good of an athlete he is when he returns punts. I like those 2 wide receivers. I don't know who their number 3 receiver is. Trent Sherfield was a good story in preseason, but he has like 20 career catches or something like that. And Mohamed Sanu, I don't think is any good. Jawan Jennings, I don't think is any good. They got 2 good receivers, which is a B+.
I agree with you. And I'd like to add about Ayuk. I don't know what happened early on. He seemed to be not used or in the doghouse. But, Iggy, he's a hell of a wide receiver. And if he were playing for someone like Derek Carr, he'd be a star.
He'd be a star. I think he's that level of player, and they need to find ways to get him involved. He's very fast, and they're having trouble because you can't really use the speed down the field with Jimmy. Well, you can run him across the field. How about a shallow cross? That's a good route for him. Jimmy can throw that pass. I'm just suggesting. I've been saying it for a while. You won't call it. I don't understand. Something Bill would have called.
Called it
John
all
Frost.
the time.
Yeah. Okay. Tight end. I'm gonna give him an A. George Kittle led the team in receiving. He had a big catch against the Packers. He had a big catch on the final drive. He's still a good blocker. They won't get Ross Dwelly the ball at all, which is silly. But tight end is definitely the strength of the offense. As I mentioned, George Kittle has a strained calf. They say it's not serious, but they often downplay injuries, especially the players who matter. So that's something to monitor. But for the time being, definitely an A.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I love the way Kittle plays, and I love their tight ends.
Yeah, absolutely. Their tight end coach, John Embry, is as good as any position coach on their team, and he scouts them like a scout. Then he develops them, does the whole thing. He did it with Kittle, did it with Dwelly. He's really, really good. So, yep, tight ends A. All right, offensive line. C-. Is that generous? C-.
Seems fair.
C-. They got the best left tackle in football. The left guard is serviceable. The center didn't look good against the Packers. He's old. The right guard is below average, and the right tackle he's good when you have a lead because he's a pretty good run blocker. As soon as you fall behind, he's the liability in the offense. He's the reason the quarterback's getting hit. So C-. I mean, they went up against a defense that no one respected. The Packers had 1 sack coming into this game against the Niners. This offensive line gave up 4 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. That's abysmal. And they couldn't run the ball. So it's hard to give them anything more than a C- right now.
Sounds good to me. And when you're talking about McGlinchey, you say he's a good run blocker, but what you're saying is he's not good as a pass blocker.
Right. And even as a run blocker, like they haven't been able to run the ball the last 2 games. And I think what the league has figured out, if people use a specific type of defensive front, the Niners have big problems. It's just a 3-4 defense with 5 guys on the line. It was the Vic Fangio defense that the Niners used when Jim Harbaugh was here. All of a sudden, Kyle Shanahan has no answers for it. So how good are these run blockers? To me, the Niners' advantage in the run game was 3 things. George Kittle's phenomenal blocking, Raheem Mostert's extraordinary speed, and Kyle Shanahan's creativity. Now the creativity hasn't been there for 3 weeks. Mostert's gone. They're not running the ball. I wonder how much credit this offensive line really deserves. I don't know.